Welcome back. As usual, we are here to talk about the clips. Just a warning for those of you watching, this was a very serious week in politics, so very serious clips, but we're gonna start with a little tussle between Tara, Ryan, and a congressman in a live event on Thursday.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
Can you unequivocally state that Joe Biden won the presidential election? And just to remind viewers, you voted against certifying the results in Arizona and Pennsylvania. Can you unequivocally state that?
Yeah, Joe Biden is the president of the United States, and that's how you become the president of the United States.
But won the, I asked it very intentionally that he won the presidential election.
Yes, and then I went on to continue an answer. If you'd like to give my answer for me, you could go ahead and do that. But I thought I was going to be here to answer.
I just gave him a side eye. I don't know if you saw that.
Okay.
I mean, my face is, I don't know. It's just, I'm giving a little bit of side eye.
But I thought I was going to be here to answer my own questions.
No, no, I'm not giving your answer. I'm just saying you said he is the president, and I was asking, did he win?
Okay, you're asking me now for a third time, and I've said yes twice. So I don't know how many more times you want me to say yes and what your agenda is. But really, it's a bit ridiculous to be asking me a third time. But please go ahead and ask me again.
Just clarifying the answer to make sure that he has it right.
You have a fourth time. I mean, I don't know.
I wouldn't call that a question.
Go for a fifth time next too.
Is every time I speak a question? We could keep going.
Sure, let's do it a sixth time.
Okay. Congressman.
Ryan had no agenda. We had to ask that question. It's just like, listen, you're a Republican, and you're not, you're Republican who voted against certifying the election, and he's not just, a congressman that represents New York. He's about to may soon put his name in the hat to run for governor of New York, where I think that answer to the question will matter a lot with New York voters. It's just that I think that he's so closely aligned with President Trump and has taken stands on issues alongside of him that get probably a lot more press and attention.
Like signing on to the big lie. Right. And so that's why you and Ryan ask this question. And every single Republican that goes and talks to any journalist, but definitely that comes to talk to us, who voted to not certify this election has to say why they did that. And we are going to ask you, did Joe Biden win the election? Not is he president? Those are different questions, right?
But I do think this whole attack the press, make us seem like we have an agenda, we're the opposition. It probably plays well with a certain constituency, but I don't know if that's New Yorkers on the whole.
So almost 4,000 children are in Border Patrol custody right now. That's more than during the peak of the 2019 crisis. The Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, called it overwhelming in an email this week. In 2019, you called the influx of migrants at the border a humanitarian crisis. Is this a crisis?
In what I called the crisis was the government's response that created the inhumane conditions where we had families and small children outdoors in triple-digit temperatures sleeping on rocks. That was truly a humanitarian crisis. There is no doubt, Jake, that what we're seeing today is an enormous challenge, and it's unacceptable.
I think this question of whether it's a crisis or a challenge or a situation is kind of silly. Am I crazy? I just don't.
No,
the language,
I think it's legit.
Well, no,
I think it's legit.
Well, this is why. So the language to me doesn't actually matter. We know what's happening at the border. Why does it need to be called a crisis?
If you send FEMA to the border, one of the words in FEMA is emergency.
I think the rhetoric is kind of it kind of grays out the actual problem, which is that you have all these children, there's COVID-19 restrictions, you have this influx of migrants, many of them who have said that they are coming here because they were coming here no matter what the administration was, but then some who say, we heard that, we know that Biden had different policies or would have different policies, but then you have the Biden administration saying, please don't come, we need to get our kind of like our feet underneath us to deal with this issue. And
No, they just don't want to have the word crisis, and you just never, as a president, want to have the word crisis.
right.
You don't want to have a crisis. You don't want to have an emergency. You don't want any of those things, especially when you're the one who's in charge. Like, they kept saying, oh, we got this dysfunctional, broken system from Trump. And it's like, okay, fine, but you've been president for 3 months now. This is your administration. You have to own it. And like, that only lasts for a second. And, you know, the idea that there was a crisis at the border is bad for Biden politically. And if it seems like they can't control it or contain it, that's bad for them. So I get why they want to call it a challenge or not a problem.
Why do you think?
You know,
would you think it's bad for them? Which way? Politically, how?
every way, politically, because like, okay, Republicans are going down there saying, "Look at this crisis. Kids are in cages. This is bad. This is a problem that has been a Trump problem. It was an Obama problem. It was a George Bush problem, and now it's a Biden problem. You can call it a problem. You can call it a crisis. You can call it a challenge. It's a problem."
They don't want to give in to the Republicans calling something a crisis that they say is a challenge. And that's why I say I don't think it matters. Like, the wording to me doesn't matter, because like you said, a problem is a problem is a problem.
It's heartbreaking because you think about these women, their lives, their hopes, their dreams, their children, their families who will never see them again. And why? Because of this senseless act of racially fueled violence that is unfortunately becoming all too common in our country.
There's this question about what happened in Atlanta. Is it a hate crime per the statute, right? Like per the legal definition. But without question, there has been a rise in hate in reports from the AAPI community. It started with people saying things in Kung Flu, talking about their connection to China and COVID, which came from President Trump. And so those kinds of things have been happening for months, and we have been ignoring it. We have been ignoring it as a country. We have been ignoring it in the media.
Yeah, I actually thought about this last night. I was thinking, like, how often our politicians on both sides are anti-China, right? It's not just a Republican thing, it's a Democratic thing too. And I wonder if sometimes the rhetoric against China ends up kind of rubbing off on Asian Americans of like Chinese descent. I wonder if sometimes that we're constantly getting screwed by China. Like, that's pretty like regular language you hear from both sides. And sometimes I think maybe that rhetoric is somehow rubbing off on these Americans. They're talking about like trade policies that impact people. And I wonder if that sort of has created also like resentment.
So this is a dangerous drug that will impact our kids. If you legalize marijuana, you're going to kill your kids. That's what the data shows from around the country. And that's why it's dangerous to go around the established process we have to determine whether or not drugs are safe and effective, and why legalizing marijuana and going around the regulatory process to keep people safe is dangerous and going to harm our kids.
I mean, no comment.
I'm literally not sure what the point is. With the "you're gonna kill your kids," I think I'm assuming he was misspeaking. He doesn't think people are gonna get high and go like, ham on their children.
I've never heard of anyone dying from getting high, but no. I don't know.
Or killing children, more importantly. I don't think that.
This is like taking the gateway drug, that marijuana is a gateway drug, to a whole nother level. The gateway is now a sword. It will kill your kids. People could maybe say that you could, by way of lighting a joint or a bowl, that you could light your hair on fire and die. I don't know. How are there many ways that you can die?
I just don't understand.
I just don't think you should operate machinery after using it.
No.